Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 264, Your Star, Larvitar. The episode begins with Ash and the gang having finally arrived at the base of Mount Silver, although it was still a while till they would actually make it up the mountain to the Silver Conference. So, they debated what to do, as they were tired and didn't want to begin the trek upwards yet, and thankfully, they spotted a Pokemon Center where they could rest as they headed inside, knowing that they had time to rest, since they should be able to make it to the Silver Conference in time. Anyways, as Ash and the gang relaxed in the center, they didn't realize that this center was actually the main one that Jimmy and Marina had visited back during the Legend of Thunder special. See, guys, that is canon, even though we never see Jimmy again after that. Anyways, while Ash and the gang were resting, Ash decided to call Professor Elm to inform him of everything that had happened since they left Newbark Town, and how Larvitar was doing. As Larvitar was happily standing in Ash's backpack, Elm declared that he saw that Larvitar had gained confidence, and commended Ash for helping Larvitar develop after hearing all the stories. Elm then reminds Ash and the gang, though, that they couldn't keep Larvitar forever, and they were supposed to return it to the Pokemon Preservation Center at the top of Mount Silver, and they were supposed to find a guy named Mason, and deliver the Larvitar to him specifically, and Elm then ended the call. With the call done, Ash and the gang knew their duty, but decided to rest around for a bit longer, as they observed several trainers in the center, including one with his Hitmontop, and a boy who came up to Ash and challenged him to a battle, revealing his name as Satchel. Of course, Ash accepted the challenge, wanting to battle anyone he could, but he questioned why Satchel was so eager to battle, leading Satchel to reveal that he assumed that Ash was coming for the Silver Conference, due to him never having seen him down by Mount Silver before. Anyways, Ash and Satchel then went outside the Pokemon Center to a battlefield, as Misty and Brock watched from a blue bench, with Larvitar also sitting on the bench, as Brock took on the duty of referee, and explained the rules of the battle, being that it was sudden death. Only one Pokemon could be used per trainer. Ash and Satchel accepted the terms, as Ash introduces himself to Satchel, remembering that only Satchel had introduced himself to him. And then Ash and Satchel take their places on the opposite sides of the battlefield, as Ash sends out a Cyndaquil, and Satchel sent out Magby. Ash had rarely seen a Magby before, so he used his Pokedex on it, and learned that Magby was a fire type. Misty and Brock already knew this, so they advised that Ash should have used Totodile, and reminded him that it was too late to switch, but Ash retorted that he didn't want to switch to Totodile anyways, leading Ash to state that he was confident he could win even without Totodile, and purposely sent out his Cyndaquil so that he could train it up no matter what, and Magby being a fire type actually worked in his favor, as now Cyndaquil could deal with a tough opponent. Satchel then praises Ash for going with a more risky fire versus fire strategy, as Pikachu shouts in excitement when Brock declares that it was time for the battle to begin, as Magby starts off with a flamethrower, but Cyndaquil dodges using Quick Attack, and also using Quick Attack to hit Magby. Satchel was impressed by Ash's skills, and commanded Magby to do something, but Magby obviously didn't understand what Satchel meant by this, allowing Cyndaquil to get off a Swift before Magby could do anything, and this knocks back Magby, although Magby quickly gets back up. Cyndaquil tries to knock it down once again with a flamethrower, but Magby counters with his own flamethrower, as both flamethrowers collide and begin having a battle of their own. Magby managed to break through Cyndaquil's wall of fire, winning the fire battle, although before Cyndaquil could get hit by both of the flamethrowers, it managed to dodge out of the way. Cyndaquil then goes in for a tackle attack, although Magby stops it in its tracks when it goes for double team, as this confuses Cyndaquil, not knowing which Magby to use tackle on, due to all of the copies created by the double team. Cyndaquil then gets even more confused, as all of the copies surround it and begin running in a circle around it. Ash simply just told Cyndaquil to take a chance and hope it was able to take out the right Magby, as Cyndaquil tackled one of the fake double team clones. Damn it! At least this disrupted the double team, though, as all of the other fakes disappeared, although it appeared that the actual Magby had disappeared as well, since there were no Magby left on the field. It was then revealed, though, that Magby had used the illusions of all of its copies to take the opportunity to sneak up behind Cyndaquil, as it then hit him from behind with a dynamic punch, knocking him out, and forcing Ash to recall it. As Brock declares Satchel the winner of the battle, as Ash holds Cyndaquil's Pokeball, telling him that it did a good job regardless of its loss, and deserved a good rest. Satchel then comes up to Ash, not being a sore winner by any means, as he admits that Ash did a very good job training his Cyndaquil, as its speed and battling as a whole was absolutely immaculate. Ash thanked Satchel for the compliments, and proceeded to compliment Satchel's Magby as well, admitting that it was well trained and had a wide variety of strong attacks. Satchel followed Ash's lead, being happy with his Magby for the victory, and congratulates it on winning the match, though admits that he still didn't think Magby was strong enough, leading Ash and the gang to question why, leading Satchel to explain that Magby was definitely not as strong as it could be, as it had yet to reach a level high enough to evolve into its evolved form, Magmar. Yes, that's right, the Pokemon Magmar was actually the evolution of this Magby, even though the Magby was originally found in Johto, as opposed to Kanto. Anyways, Satchel explained that he really wanted his Magby to become a Magmar, since Dynamic Punch would be a way stronger move if used by Magmar. Ash retorted that Magby was strong enough as is, leading Satchel to reveal the reason why he had taken on Ash for real, which was because Satchel was also entering the Silver Conference, and he knew that his Magby would be facing extremely strong trainers at the Silver Conference, so he thought that his Magby needed a power boost, despite it already being strong, since all of the Silver Conference Pokemon would be a lot stronger than your average Joe. Satchel then complimented Ash again, stating that Ash's strength just proved that the Silver Conference trainers were going to be a lot stronger, and admitted that he was very grateful to have had the opportunity to have a practice battle against Ash, since that meant that Magby could get some experience with Silver Conference trainers before the actual tournament, and hopefully evolve into a Magmar sooner. and thanked Ash for the battle, although advised him that even though Ash and his Cyndaquil were strong, Ash should probably train up his Cyndaquil as well, in case some Silver Conference trainers were able to counter Cyndaquil's speed and moves, suggesting that Ash should evolve his Cyndaquil just as he was planning to evolve his Magby. Satchel then takes his leave, so Ash goes to think about what Satchel said as he relaxes by a pool near the Pokemon Center with Pikachu and Cyndaquil, with Cyndaquil taking the opportunity to rest out in the fresh air to recuperate from his hard battle. Ash was really letting what Satchel said get to him, and was beginning to worry that he may be no match for most of the trainers in the Silver Conference, and debated if he really should evolve his Cyndaquil, noting that Cyndaquil was powerful in its current form, especially with defensive strategies. He figured that some training, even if it didn't make Cyndaquil evolve, but just strengthened him up, would be worth it. And decides that training his other Pokemon would probably be good as well, because it's not like he was just going to use Cyndaquil for the entire Silver Conference. However, Ash was unsure as to what training method he should use. Just then, though, Ash spotted a random trainer who appeared to be getting ready for the Silver Conference, training with his Quilava, which Ash used his Pokedex on to reveal that it was the evolved form of Cyndaquil. Seeing an evolved Pokemon just makes Ash realize that Satchel's want to have Magby evolve now made sense. Everyone in the Silver Conference likely did have evolved Pokemon, so this just made him want to evolve Cyndaquil even more. Determined to try and get all of his other Pokemon who hadn't evolved to evolve as well. Ash was still stuck on how to train his Pokemon though, as he then saw the trainer throw a Frisbee as the Quilava tried to hit it down with a few flamethrower attacks, and this gave Ash the inspiration he needed. He declared that he needed to do special training with his Pokemon, not just battles. Determined to use this training to win the Silver Conference. Meanwhile, as for Misty and Brock, while Ash was hanging out by the pool, they went into the nearby forest to relax a little bit, finally getting to have that lunch that they were going to have before Ash battled Satchel. And Larvitar was eating lunch as well, eating well past the time Misty and Brock had finished, leaving Misty and Brock to simply examine Larvitar as it ate, hoping to bond with it when Larvitar would see that Misty and Brock weren't dangerous. Larvitar soon finished eating, although it had some left over, and Misty saw that Togepi was hungry, so she decided to give some food to Togepi as well. And just then, Ash and Pikachu and Cyndaquil arrived in the forest. Misty and Brock questioned where Ash had been, but Ash ignored their questions as he simply announced that it was time for some special training, and sent out every single one of his Pokemon that he had on hand, heading towards a special field to train, ignoring Brock and Misty as he passed by them. Why was he ignoring them? Well, he was just so focused on training. Upon getting to the field, Ash pairs his Pokemon together so that they each had a training partner to battle with, as he was planning to have them battle each other to start, and then progress to some special forms of training afterwards, after seeing what moves needed specific work. Noctowl was going to train with Pikachu, Totodile was going to train with Cyndaquil, and Phanpy was going to train with Bayleaf. Meanwhile, as for Team Rocket, they were spying on Ash and his Pokemon through some bushes, watching them walk in the field. Utilizing binoculars, of course, to see all this. Team Rocket continue watching as Misty and Brock follow Ash to the field where he was beginning to train with his Pokemon. But Jessie soon removes her focus from Ash and the gang entirely, as she sees that a whole bunch of other trainers were also training for the Silver Conference in the same field as well, including a trainer with his Primeape, a trainer with his Machoke, a trainer with his Furret, a trainer with his Quagsire, and a trainer with his Scizor. Seeing how strong all of the Pokemon were, Jessie declared that they should capture all of the Silver Conference's trainers' Pokemon. Damn, that's a fucking wide-scale plan. That would ruin the league, wouldn't it? I mean, I guess not all the trainers were there, only some of them, but you know what I mean. Anyways, Meowth and James agreed to this, although they of course still wanted to steal Pikachu from Ash and the gang, so they plotted to do both, steal Pikachu and all of the Silver Conference trainers' Pokemon. Meanwhile, back with Ash and the gang, Misty and Brock were watching not just Ash train, but also all of the other Silver Conference trainers, admiring all of the training going on and how strong all the trainers were, and especially how serious Ash was actually taking the Silver Conference as he ordered all his Pokemon to practice their dodging and their attacks. Still, trying to determine which moves needed the most work. While Ash was so focused on training, and Misty and Brock were so focused on watching him, none of them noticed that Larvitar had wandered off. However, since Togepi was bored with watching, it looked around and spotted that Larvitar was gone, and leaped out of Misty's arms to investigate. Misty did notice Togepi leaping out of her arms though, which in turn made her realize that Larvitar was gone. Informing Brock of what had happened, and explaining that they must have been too distracted watching Ash's training. Speaking of Larvitar, it had ended up wandering off into the field where the other Silver Conference trainers were training. Basically, Larvitar had gotten kind of bored with watching Ash and his Pokemon train, but was still intrigued by all the different training methods that all the other trainers were using, so it ran up to them, hoping that it could see some of the moves that the Pokemon were using and try and learn them himself, so he could become stronger. As Larvitar watched all the trainers train though, it got startled as a Voltorb, as well as an Electrode, popped out from some bushes. Since Larvitar screeched a little bit in fear when it got startled, this alerted all the Silver Conference trainers that were training to Larvitar's location, gathering around Larvitar as they were enamored by it, believing it to be a rare Pokemon. Thankfully for Larvitar, as it didn't like this large crowd that had gathered around it obviously, not even just the humans but other Pokemon as well, Misty and Brock had gone looking for Larvitar and heard it screech, so the two of them came to Larvitar's aid to prevent any of the Silver Conference trainers from trying to capture it. However, a sudden strong gust of wind then begins dragging all of the Pokemon through the field, almost blowing all the trainers off their feet as well. Since Satchel was one of the trainers training in this field, his Magby was also getting pulled in the direction of the wind. While this was happening, Ash was training Noctowl to dodge Pikachu's quick attacks and thunderbolts, trying to determine if Noctowl's speed needed work, when he suddenly heard Misty and Brock in the distance yell out for Larvitar. Ash then noticed the strong winds and realized, as soon as he got up to Misty and Brock, that Larvitar was being pulled away by the winds as well, but fortunately, Ash was able to catch Larvitar in his hands before he was dragged away. Ash questioned what the source of this wind could be, as all of the other trainers, including Satchel, tried to run after their Pokemon, being pulled away by the wind, as Ash was then beginning to be pulled away by the wind as well, with Larvitar in his hands, though, thankfully, Bayleaf was able to use Vine Whip to grab Ash with her vines, and then pulls him in the direction away from the wind with the help of all of Ash's other Pokemon, Pikachu, Cyndaquil, Totodile, Phanpy, and Noctowl, to provide extra support, and thankfully, Ash and Larvitar are able to be pulled away from the massive wind. This allowed Ash to get back to questioning where the fuck the wind was coming from, as all of the other Pokemon continued to get sucked in one direction, only for the cause of the wind to reveal themselves, being Team Rocket, as they showed up in their Meowth balloon and said their motto, stating their plan to capture all of the Silver Conference trainers' Pokemon using a vacuum attached to their Meowth balloon to create the wind and suck up all of the Pokemon. And that's exactly what they did, as all of the Pokemon that were dragged away in the wind, including Satchel's Magby, were sucked up into Team Rocket's vacuum, as they laughed, taunting everyone. Meowth then stopped laughing, though, as he realized that the vacuum had failed to capture any of Ash's Pokemon, as Bayleaf had restricted them all to the ground using her Vine Whip, just as she did Ash. With Team Rocket being caught off guard by this, Ash took the opportunity to have Cyndaquil use Flamethrower, but Meowth simply sucked up the Flamethrower into the vacuum by turning on the vacuum to a higher setting, and the vacuum then produced a wind so strong that even Cyndaquil was sucked up as well, before it could try to use another Flamethrower. Ash tried to save Cyndaquil before he got sucked in, dropping Larvitar in the process, but as a result, Larvitar was no longer being restrained by Ash, and Ash was no longer being restrained by Bayleaf, so they ended up getting sucked up by the strong vacuum as well. Although Ash did in fact get sucked up, Larvitar did not, as it managed to hang on to the vacuum's hose and climb up it, remaining on the hose as Team Rocket escaped in their Meowth balloon, with Brock, Misty, Satchel, and all of Ash's other Pokemon chasing them down as fast as they could, with Satchel following from a slightly different location in the field. Unfortunately, none of them were able to catch up to Team Rocket, as their Meowth balloon then arrived at a wood cabin in the middle of the woods that had a truck that Team Rocket had acquired in front of it, as they then dropped all of the Pokemon from inside the vacuum into the truck, with the exception of Larvitar, as it still managed to hide on the vacuum's hose. As for Ash, he had landed in the truck as well, with all the Pokemon, but Team Rocket quickly took him out and tied him up, leaving him inside of the cabin, and then leaving the cabin and going into the cockpit of their truck, as they locked the door to the cabin so Ash could never escape. Before Team Rocket drove off, though, they looked in the back of the truck and admired all of the Pokemon that they had successfully captured, not even noticing that Larvitar was not there, and they then congratulated themselves in thinking of the plan of using a truck to haul the Pokemon away, since no one would ever be able to catch them, since their truck went so fast, and they were determined to prove this, as they prepared to drive away with James turning the ignition key. However, Larvitar took action, since Team Rocket definitely couldn't see them while they were in the truck cockpit, so Larvitar used Bite, as it walked up to the front of the truck and saw that Team Rocket were distracted in the cockpit, allowing it to finish its bite in peace, as it popped one of the back tires, having gone to the back of the truck now, after seeing Team Rocket distracted. Essentially, one of Team Rocket's tires was popped, which, much to Team Rocket's surprise, obviously prevented them from moving in their truck, even when James turned the ignition key, which just ended up tilting the truck, informing James that something must have been wrong. Knowing that Team Rocket was about to come over and see Larvitar when they came to check on the tire, Larvitar took the opportunity to use Dig to dig a tunnel underground, not only to escape Team Rocket, but also to dig into the cabin to bypass the lock and arrive near Ash through the cabin floorboards, making Ash very happy to see Larvitar, as he was initially worried that the rumbling that was caused by Larvitar's dig was actually caused by Team Rocket, and was relieved to see that this wasn't the case. Meanwhile, Misty and Brock had split up with Ash's Pokemon to cover more ground, attempting to search for the Meowth balloon, and they eventually met back up with Ash's Pokemon, along with Satchel, and they all reported that they hadn't found Team Rocket or their Meowth balloon whatsoever. This leads Brock to suggest that Team Rocket may be hiding and not using their Meowth balloon, so he decides to order Ash's Noctowl to go scouting for Team Rocket closer to the ground, which Noctowl obliges to. Meanwhile, as for Team Rocket, they had now noticed that the tire had went flat, leading James to question how this was possible, not knowing that Larvitar was responsible, as James had just checked the tires like fucking 2 seconds ago, and they were fine. Jessie didn't care how the fuck the tire ended up flat, she just wanted it fixed so that Team Rocket could make their escape, and ordered Meowth and James to both fix it, with herself not getting involved whatsoever. Back in the cabin, Larvitar used Bite to free Ash from the rope, leading Ash to thank Larvitar for its help saving him, but also scold the Larvitar for putting itself in so much danger, suggesting that Larvitar should have done the smart thing and stayed back to protect itself instead of coming back for him. Ash soon realized that Larvitar could take his concerns the wrong way, so he quickly dismissed them and switched back to thanking Larvitar for helping him, proud of him for being able to save Ash. I mean, Ash was. Like, it's not like he wasn't proud of Larvitar at all for managing to act completely on his own and save him. Ash was so impressed that he suggested that Larvitar help him save the rest of the trainer's Pokemon from Team Rocket's truck, and Larvitar agreed as he and Ash walked out of the cabin. Well, really, they didn't walk out of the cabin. They instead went through the hole that Larvitar had dug through the floorboards, arriving back just by the truck, although they hid behind a tree as they saw James and Meowth fixing the tire by trying to put on a spare. Ash noticed that James and Meowth were distracted by this, though, so he thought it was the perfect opportunity to have Larvitar help save all the Pokemon inside the truck. So, he told Larvitar to go inside of the truck and inform Satchel's Magby and Ash's Cyndaquil to use their flamethrower to melt the glass that was keeping all the Pokemon trapped inside of the truck. So, Larvitar agreed to help and dug with Dig underneath the ground yet again, eventually arriving right behind the truck, not being spotted by James and Meowth, since it was practically invisible while underground, and as soon as it popped out of the ground, it instantly just directed its attention towards the Pokemon, banging on the glass quietly, which alerted Cyndaquil and Magby to the glass, where they saw Larvitar, allowing Larvitar to explain what Ash had said, which was the instructions to have Magby and Cyndaquil use flamethrower to melt the glass. Magby and Cyndaquil initially had trouble making out what Larvitar was saying, leading Larvitar to hop on the back of the truck and literally put its face right up to the glass, telling them what Ash wanted them to do, and they finally understand as they use flamethrower to try and melt the glass as Larvitar watches. Unfortunately, though, before Magby and Cyndaquil could finish melting the glass, James and Meowth had successfully changed the tire and hopped back into the truck's cockpit with Jessie, and were about to drive off. However, Larvitar took action as it prevents the truck from moving again when it bites the exact same tire that James and Meowth had just fixed, which causes the truck to tilt once more when James puts in the ignition key, leading James and Meowth to go check out the tire once again, although they didn't see Larvitar, as Larvitar had went around to the other side of the truck to avoid being seen, and quickly returned to the back of the truck, where Cyndaquil and Magby were still trying to escape and break the glass. They were eventually able to break the glass, as James and Meowth were still trying to fix the tire again, with Jessie and Wobbuffet, who forcibly popped out of its Pokeball, coming out of the truck to what Jessie called supervise James and Meowth changing the tire to make sure they were doing it right, although she didn't know shit about tires, and she wasn't even watching them change it. She was just sunbathing in a chair that she had. By the time the glass had been broken and Team Rocket had managed to fix the tire, Noctowl had successfully arrived at Team Rocket's truck and spotted them, instantly flying back to Misty and Brock to inform them of this, as Misty, Brock, and Satchel followed Noctowl back to Team Rocket's location, wanting to save Ash and the stolen Pokemon. Back at the truck, James and Meowth had in fact changed the tire again, but they were still loosening the tire onto the truck, as Magby and Cyndaquil finally managed to melt the glass, allowing all of the Pokemon to escape. Most of the Pokemon managed to get out and hide from Team Rocket behind one side of the truck, where Team Rocket wasn't at, but unfortunately, a Quagsire got stuck when it was trying to escape the hole in the glass, so this forced the remaining Pokemon in the truck, being a Scizor, Machoke, as well as Magby and Cyndaquil, to try and push it out, although this caused quite a bit of noise, alerting Team Rocket to the back of the truck, where they spotted the hole that had been made by Cyndaquil and Magby. Jessie then looked in the hole inside the truck to investigate, while Ash was very happy to see that all the Pokemon had escaped from the truck and were hiding behind it, telling Larvitar to ensure that the Pokemon kept doing this, and that he would eventually come and rescue the Pokemon at the right moment. Ash then noticed that Cyndaquil and Magby weren't hiding with the rest of the Pokemon, and told Larvitar to instruct them to get out of the truck and hide. However, Ash quickly rescinded his order, as he saw why Magby and Cyndaquil were not hiding. It was because they were still in the truck. So, when Jessie peeked inside the hole of the glass and saw that there were seemingly no Pokemon inside of the truck, she freaked out, only for Cyndaquil and Magby, who were hiding at the back of the truck, to reveal themselves and shoot a flamethrower straight at Jessie's face. A flamethrower each, to be precise. With Jessie down, and Meowth and James surprised by this, Ash thought that it was the perfect opportunity for him to reveal himself, as he ran out from his hiding place behind the cabin and ordered all the Pokemon to run away from the truck towards him instead. So, with that, all of the stolen Pokemon, including Magby, Cyndaquil, and Larvitar, all ran up to Ash, surrounding him. Team Rocket obviously heard all of the Pokemon run towards Ash, so they cornered him and his Pokemon, including the stolen ones, as Ash declared that Team Rocket would never stop him, and he was leaving with all the stolen Pokemon. Team Rocket initially got confused, thinking that this meant Ash was trying to steal all the stolen Pokemon from them, but Ash clarifies that he was going to take them back to all of their trainers, and yelled that Team Rocket had no right to get mad at anyone for stealing from them anyways, as they stole the Pokemon in the first place. Team Rocket didn't like the fact that Ash was right, so they took out their anger by challenging him to a Pokemon battle, as they first had Wobbuffet interrupt his comments, and then they sent out their Weezing and Arbok. Obviously, James couldn't send out his Victory Bell anymore because he didn't have it, haha. But anyways, the battle then began, with Team Rocket trying to reclaim their stolen the Pokemon that they stole, as Arbok goes for Bite, and Weezing goes for Tackle, both of them trying to hit Ash directly. However, before the attacks could make contact, Noctowl then arrived, as it swooped down and tackled both Weezing and Arbok. Noctowl is then closely followed by Brock, Misty, Satchel, and the rest of Ash's Pokemon. Ash is relieved to see them, as Arbok and Weezing then direct their attention on Misty, Brock, and Satchel, and all of Ash's other Pokemon, as Arbok goes for Poison Sting and Weezing goes for Sludge, but both of the attacks get cancelled by Magby using Flamethrower, rendering the attacks useless. Ash then sends out his Phanpy to help, as it goes to tackle Arbok and Weezing directly into Jesse and James. Totodile then uses its Water Gun on Jesse, James, Arbok, and Weezing, making them attempt to run away from the water. Once Team Rocket were away from the water, James then had Weezing go in for a tackle, and Jesse grabbed Arbok by the tail and swung it in a flinging motion directly towards Magby, instructing it to use a headbutt. However, Magby hit both Weezing and Arbok away using Dynamic Punch. Satchel thought this Dynamic Punch was so powerful it could only be used by a Magmar, and sure enough, Magby then evolved into Magmar, much to Ash and the gang's amazement, as well as Satchel's, and also Team Rocket's confusion, as they definitely didn't expect a little bitch like Magby to evolve into a Magmar. Team Rocket were not that scared by the Magmar, though. They figured their Arbok and Weezing could deal with it, even when Satchel excitedly cheered on his newly evolved Magmar, stating that he now believed that Magmar would be strong enough to defeat anyone in the Silver Conference. Perhaps this was true, as Magmar really kicked Arbok and Weezing's asses, even when Jesse flinged Arbok by the tail once again, this time commanding it to use Takedown, as it simply countered with another Dynamic Punch. Arbok then got back up, as it and Weezing both used Takedown, independent of their trainers, although Magmar then used Flamethrower to stop Weezing and Arbok in their tracks and knock them into Team Rocket. With all of Team Rocket now knocked down, this allowed Ash to step in, as he commanded his Cyndaquil to use Flamethrower as well, which was powerful enough, combined with Magmar's Flamethrower, to send Team Rocket blasting off. Satchel and Ash and the gang then go up to the Magmar and congratulate it for evolving, as Satchel thanks Ash for helping Magby evolve, stating that if Magby never escaped Team Rocket's truck, then it never would have evolved in the first place. Although Ash appreciated the compliment, he told Satchel that if he was going to thank anyone for saving his now Magmar, he should thank Larvitar. And Ash did so himself, thanking Larvitar for all of its help. All of the stolen Pokemon then returned to all the Silver Conference trainers, as they were all happily reunited now. With Team Rocket gone, and all of the Pokemon reunited with their trainers, Ash and the gang, along with Satchel, decide to head up Mount Silver together to get to the Silver Conference. However, Ash revealed that he had to deliver Larvitar to the Pokemon Preservation area on Mount Silver first, before he could go to the Silver Conference, informing Satchel that Elm had told Ash and the gang that Satchel may know where the Pokemon Preservation area was, and Satchel confirmed this as he took Ash and the gang to a fork in the road, and Ash and the gang went one way, which was the way to the Pokemon Preservation area, and Satchel went the other way towards Silvertown, where the Silver Conference was taking place, with Satchel and Ash and the gang saying goodbye to each other. Though before Satchel goes, he thanks Ash once again for helping him evolve his Magby into Magmar. While Ash and the gang were by themselves, Misty stated that Ash should have been pretty excited to have met Satchel, as he turned out to be more than just a guy who knew where the Pokemon Preservation area was, but also a great new rival for Ash. Brock didn't deny that Satchel would be a great rival for Ash, but warned Ash that Satchel would be a very strong opponent for him in the Silver Conference, and he may lose against him. However, Ash doubted this, stating that he could beat anyone that came his way, since he had trust in his Pokemon, who had skills, courage, and heart, and he also knew that they didn't need to evolve in order to win, even though Satchel's Magby evolved into Magmar in order to win. His Pokemon were not like that, since he had come to the conclusion that his unevolved Pokemon could perform special moves that even the evolved Pokemon couldn't perform because of the way Ash had trained them. The episode then ends with Ash and the gang heading over to the Pokemon Preservation area, with Ash confirming to Larvitar that this was its birthplace.